Okay, so hi guys. The time is 12:53 and the date is January 8th. So this is day 2 of my bootcamp. I will speak a little slowly because I think people are sleeping at my house. So yesterday I started a MERN bootcamp in which I am going to build a WordPress website. I will start the live shortly. Just give me a few minutes to make sure my setup is complete. Okay. Hmm. Mhm. Okay, can you see the infinite loops of the screen? I like that. So, yesterday we'll do a quick recap. So, yesterday I started a web development bootcamp. So, prerequisites for JavaScript, CSS, and HTML. Then, how website works. So, how actual websites work is there is front end, back end, and a database usually in a website. So, the front end is all this which you see over here, like this all this story buttons, all this cards, this post layout, the animation in which the this is going from the post is switching from one photo to another, this all button, this sidebar, everything which you see when you click over here and you open a different page, all this it's a front end thing. And when like all this post would be stored by Instagram or somewhere. So this is stored at their database which they use. Usually nowadays people prefer cloud database. But if you are like banks or someone, they do have their own. Sorry guys, they do have their own database. So and to get the posts and everything from database, we use backend. That's how our website works. So we are going to build a website in MERN stack. Uh, so MERN stack's full form is MongoDB, Express, React, and Node. So what's MERN stack? So React.js is a JavaScript library that helps developer build user interface. It helps us to make dynamic web pages. Usually, if you use just HTML and CSS, it would be used for making static websites. But with using React.js, you can add more dynamic animations and everything in the website. And it also helps us to it also helps us to make reusable components. We will learn more about it when we get to that React part. And MongoDB, it's an open source NoSQL database. So it is a non-relational database. So non-relational database would consist of documents and collections, whereas relational database would consider tables and rows. Then we are using Node.js for sorry, we are using Node.js as our server language, so it will be used to build the backend. And Node.js is a runtime environment that helps you to run JavaScript outside of web browser. Usually earlier when we didn't have Node.js, JavaScript can only be used in web browsers, so it could only be used in the front ends. But nowadays, with the help of Node.js, we can run JavaScript for backend as well. Then we are using Express.js. So Express.js is a framework built which is built on top of Node.js. It helps us in routing and all. Uh, Using just Node.js, it would be very difficult to create a whole dynamic backend. So we have to use Express.js for it. Yeah, you can read that. And we also created a very little code. We started our Node.js project and made a route on port 8000. So we'll run our port backend on port 8000. And sorry guys, we'll run our backend on port 8000, and we just made a simple route which just prints hello YouTube viewers. And we also created a MongoDB database on MongoDB at last. I can show it to you. I'm using MongoDB Atlas because it provides us a free cluster up to some GB, and it is very good for development process. You don't have to download MongoDB locally. It's very easy to use. Mm, yeah, Web Dev Bootcamp. Over here we created a barbershops connection, and we also connected it using this URL. Oh yeah. So now today we are going to create some backend, and let's start on server. It would be npm start. So yeah, our backend is started on port 8001, and our data is also created. So let's see. Database is connected. So yeah, you can see our backend is up and running. So usually the backend in Node.js would follow model view controller architecture. So in the models, we would define the schema of our database. So what is a schema? So as I told yesterday that MongoDB consists of, like, it doesn't use table and rows or columns. It doesn't store it in tables. It uses collections. So collection is just like similar to table, but so collection can be of users collection where we store all the data of users. Then in the case of Instagram, it can be your Instagram post. So there can be a collection for posts. There can be a collection for messages. There can be collection for uh, not likes. I would say many things like categories and all. So for our website, so we are going to build a similar website to this one. Okay, so this is a local barber shop's website, which is the shop is next to my house, and I am trying to build similar website to it. Not exactly the same design, but uh, kind of what this website does. So let's see, what should be the collection, what should be the tables which would be used in this. So let's explore this website a little bit so that we can have a general idea of how this website is working. So as you can see, there are various, and They also have some photographs. And when you go to a particular barber, let's say this is an owner, Victor, book now. So you can see all the services which are provided by Victor over here and the price for that particular service. So let's say I select the lineup. I want to trim my beard. So I would use this. Yeah, no, not anything else. So then it would choose a time for me. So basically, me as an user of this website, I want to book an appointment. I don't have to provide my email. Let's say, I think I do have to provide my email, like not email, just my first name, last name. Yes, I'm done. Continue. Okay. Yeah, so they are just asking first name, last name, mobile, email, and the payment option. For this website, I'm not going to add a payment option on that, but you can when we build the whole website and you know how to make this website, I'm pretty sure you would be able to Google it and know how to integrate a payment system in a Node.js project. So the first thing which we would have is the users collection, right? So the user can be a barber as well as the general user customer. So on barber also there can be an owner, like the store owner who makes other barber as well. That should be a front end page where someone would be able to make a user their own employees. Let's say this guy is new at work and we need to put him on the website. So an owner and would log in from the admin side and uh, like have this like can make this new user. So document. So it says barbers. I would say users for this, I guess. So a user can have first name, last name, and email, password. But password should not be, I would say, for necessary every time. So because let's say if I'm not making a username, password, and all, I don't mention all. I should just get an email that my uh, I have booked my barber and this is the time of the day, time of my visit, which is booked by me. For sorry, not by earlier it was right. So we will not add use collection for bookings. So let's just first focus on barbers. So all these barbers would come in a different collection. So it would have first name, last name, email, the password which would they log in, their availability, like which days of the week they are available and what's the time they are available because not every barber would be available 7 days a week. Oh. Mm, my voice is breaking. Am I audible now? Like if I speak slowly and more loudly and clearly, and please don't call me sir. One please. Hi. Am I audible now? If someone would reply in the chat, that would be helpful. Okay, thanks, Miyashi's. Mm, okay, so what I was saying is, so barber would have first name, last name, and email. then an availability at which time they would be available, and service IDs. So service IDs would be like this barber. Oh, sorry, this barber provides this many services. Like some barber would not be comfortable in trimming, or some barber would be specializing in like hair straightening and all hair treatments. So all services which the barber provides would go in an area of service IDs. Then each barber and owner. So if a barber is an admin, let's say the like this Victor, then it would be a boolean field which is true or false. And then we can also keep an Insta ID for this. Like whenever if we want to keep an Instagram handle ID for the barbers, that would be completely optional. Then the other collection would be services. So services would be name of the service, the price, the time. Hmm. Yeah, the time would be the total time it would take for that service, the approximate time. Then we have bookings collection. So bookings collection would have everything as an ID, and MongoDB provides an ID by default. So we don't have to write some logic for IDs. Sorry. Uh, so while making a booking, there should be first name, last name, email. Ignore this required if BYB is true. For now, just first name, last name, a user would provide first name, last name, email, the appointment date, the barber which they book, payment status. I'm not so sure if I would add the payment. Okay. Uh, Payment status would be like if I add a payment gateway, then it would be like completed, not completed. He would pay cash when he visits the uh, but when he visits the shop. Then it would be booked by barber. Yeah, ignore this too for now. Then the service ID service which they booked. So let's come to booked by barber. It is this BYB. So let's say someone just came to the shop and told the barber that tomorrow I want to book this guy for from 4 to 5 p.m. for this particular thing. So they are not booking online using the website, but they are just telling the barber in the shop. So barber would book this for them, right? So for that case, hmm, booked by barber required when it should be false. Look. So like when barber is not booking, so barber can just barber can just like not provide first name, last name, and email. They can just directly just set the time aside that okay for this time I would be not available to anyone who is booking online because they have an offline client. Service ID. They can also not provide a service ID if they want. Okay, so be our three collections for now. If we want, we can add more. And that's the thing of NoSQL. It is very dynamic. You don't need to run migrations and all like in a relational database. You can do it instant, like very quickly if you want. Mm, sorry guys, I'm facing some issue with my internet maybe. So my voice will be breaking. Hmm. Maybe I can to my mobile data. Hopefully that doesn't break my voice. Just give me a second while I'm on my hotspot. Hmm. Actually, I'm not able to connect right now. If I want to connect to my mobile data, I need to connect to my disconnect with my current Wi-Fi. So hopefully my Wi-Fi gets better and my voice is not breaking. So let's come to the coding part. So as I told, we would follow the model, controller, and views architecture for a Node.js project. So in models, we would define the schema of our collection. So all these collections, like this first name should be string, last name should be string, email should be string, like mm, sorry, price should be numeric. All this should be defined in a schema. So it goes to a model folder. So let's create a model folder. Models. So inside models, we would have three schemas for now. One is barber schema, service schema, and booking schema. Um, so let's create uh, another folder would be, oops, we don't need a folder inside model. We need over here. So another would be controller. So controller is the main logic part of our APIs. So let's say there is a route which is used to create a law, like which is used to get all the barber's data, like to the front end. Then the main logic which would be written should come in the controller's folder. Like it's not mandatory to you do like that, but this is a common practice so that our file structure remains uniform and so that our structure remains uniform and it is easy for someone else to read your code as well. So usually when you are running, when you are usually when you are developing a website, you would not work alone on that website unless it's a small project. Usually there is a team of software developers who works on websites. So there would be a front end developers team or else and then there would be backend developer team, then someone be like a full stack developer. So all work together on on the same on the same project. So it's okay now. I'm not disconnected and I'm like my voice is audible properly now. Is it audible now? Okay, I guess my screen is not shared. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay, thanks guys. Hopefully mobile data works better than the Wi-Fi. So what I was telling is like the controller part would consist of all the logic portion of a website of our backend, and then there would be a sorry, routes folder which would have the all the routes for our backend services. So whenever like there will always be a route like in slash get products, slash get barbers, slash get appointment, or slash get this particular booking details. Everything would go like there's always a route for some for all this backend services, and for that there will all this would go in the routes folder, and we will have all the files inside it. Let's say if you want like there would be some routes for users like barbers. So get this the details of this particular barber. There would be route of get this particular barber that would go in a different like different route. Then there would be get all barbers. So all this related to barbers would go in a barber.js file inside the routes. Then there would be bookings routes like get all bookings or get bookings from the past 14 days. Like all those routes would go in the bookings.js file inside the routes, and the logic part, which gets actually all the data from the from the database, would go in the controllers folder. Okay, so now let's create a barber.js file, and this would be like we are creating it inside the model. So it would have all the schema for our barbers collection. So to make a schema, let's go to Mongoose, MongoDB npm. Let's go to the official documentation where they're creating the schema for a collection. So yeah, this is it. This is like, excuse me. So this is where we create this is the code where we create a schema for a particular collection. So we are going to create a schema for barber which would have all these fields. So let's create it over here. Just give me a second. So the first thing would be to import mongoose. So const mongoose equal to quickfire mongoose. Then we would define schema, which would be mongoose.schema. Yeah, we imported the mongoose first, and then we created the schema. Then let's create the barber schema. Is equal to new schema, right? So the first thing would be first name, it's a string. So usually mm, we give type, like the type would be string. Sorry, the type spelling is wrong. Like the first name would always be a string, and then required, there is always a field called required, which would be like, is this particular field required? Set to true. Whenever you make an entry, whenever you make a entry into the database and you don't provide first name, it would throw an error that there is a constraint error that the first name is always required. You could also uh, give it like a default value if you want. Like a default should be first name, but this is what not we want, and this is not what we want. So we'll remove this. But I'm just telling you, you can have that. And similarly, you would have last name. The type would be string. Then required. First name, last name is always required for the barber, so that when we display, let's say first name is required, last name is not compulsory. At least we can have a name for the barber which we can display. Then there would be email, type would be a string, required is true. Like so, user, let's say a barber would log into his account using the email. So email is always required, and there would be password. Type would be string, and required there should always be a password. Then what do we have? Availability. I hope my spelling for availability is correct. Availability. Okay. So availability would be an array of objects. If you're not familiar with arrays, I would say watch some video or something about arrays and objects like data types on in JavaScript, because I'm not going to go like from very basic. So it would be an array of objects. So it would be somewhat like, let's say this is an array. And, it should be like day of the week. So it should be like Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday or something. Then there would be start time. At what time does they start that day? It should also be a string, like in 12, let's say 11, 0, and then there should be end time. Should be like around 20. Like he works from 11 to 8 for 9 hours on Monday. Then he would work at, then there would be another object similar to this one where he works at, like, let's say he doesn't work on Tuesday and Wednesday, he then works on Thursday, Friday, Saturday for the same time or different time. So to do that, uh, it should be availability, and then let's go to the MongoDB database documentation. And over here, as you can see, that we want it as an array of objects, and then we can also define what should be inside this. So type should be an array of objects, so it would consider day. It should be string, and it should have start time as string and end time as string as well. Required would be false. Do we want to set maybe a default on this one? I don't know. Now we'll leave false. Availability, then we have service IDs. So service ID would be an foreign key. So what exactly is foreign key? So a foreign key is sorry. So the foreign key is a key like an ID which links us to another table. Let's say we have a user table which has like user IDs. Let's say my name is Malhar and I have my all information inside the users table, users collection. So my ID on inside that is one. Let's just say it's one. And there is another collection which is posts. So post should have like the data like the photo URL or video URL of the post, then a caption which should be a string, and then Instagram should know that whose post is that, like which particular user this post belongs to. So for that they would use a user ID which would link to the user's collection. So that is called a foreign key. So it would link it would user ID should be one because my user ID is one, so and that links to the like the user's collection. But for our case, so it's service IDs, so it should be an array of IDs of services. So to do that, I think it's directly like this. Then the type would be schema schema dot types dot object ID, and it the service would be this collection services. Okay, then we have is owner. So just to like how this is different, like we have added an array over here. Is that type is first field should be like type and it should be referencing to the service, and is owner should be a true or false, so it should be boolean, and it is required to, and by default it would then we have insta id. Type should be string and required should be false. Okay, so this is our schema for the barbers collection, and okay, so similarly to this, but we need to export this right somewhere. So like this is just a variable we have stored. So to export it, we use module dot export equal to mongoose dot model, and first should be what should be the let me just write this. Okay, so module dot exports just exports this particular model, and mongoose dot model is a function which is provided by mongoose library, mongoose package, and mongoose dot model would like create a collection inside our database, and the collection name would be barber, and this is just a variable which we stored like the schema variable which is over here. So this would create a we do have some error, excuse me. So this would create a collection inside our database. Hmm, we are not able to connect to our, oh, I know the issue. So as we have shifted from the Wi-Fi to our mobile data, the IP address for internet has changed. And when you try to, uh, like for this particular database, I have added a IP check whenever, so it only allows to connect to the IPs which I allow. So I need to also allow my current IP address. So let's see. Mm, So add an IP. It's my current IP. Mhm. Okay, so IP has been added successfully, and hopefully now we are able to connect to our database. See, we are able to connect to our database. Our IP has been whitelisted. Usually, when you work for a company, your IP address you need to ask the team lead, or senior software developer at your company to whitelist your IP, just like how I did right now, because of security reasons, they don't allow everyone to connect to the database. So they add all the IPs like this. Let's say there's a John who is working for my company. They would add the IP address of John over here so that he can connect to the database. Okay, so I've successfully connected to the database. Let's see. Mhm. So now we need to create our first user, first barber, which we can create on this route. Like this is a demo route. I am just creating a user currently, which we will not use this in our main project. I'm just creating a user so that we can see our user inside this one. So currently it shows 0 collections. Let's hope we are able to make a collection. Mm. So this is what I did. Mongoose.model. It would create a model like a barber correction. Mhm. Hmm. Let's just see. So using this, uh, they are creating a first they are creating a schema, then they are creating an user, and then they are validating that user, and I think it's save. Yeah, this one is save. This one is, yeah, I think it's save. Let's just try like inputting the. Mhm. So first we need to import this particular thing, the model which we created using module.export. So this would export the this would module.export would help us to use this inside the our project. So const barber is equal to require. Then we would go to this file like let's say. So we it's inside models. See this links us to here. So we have barber. Then we would create a new barber like const first barber. Let's say first barber. Oops. So it's new person. So similarly, we would create a new barber. So for our barber, we have this particular schema which we need to follow. So first one is first name. First name is a string, and let's say I am the first barber. Sorry. Then we have last name Malunai. Malunai. Then my email. Let's just give a demo email for now. Malha@gmail.com. Then a password. Usually we don't store a password in like a string like 1 2 3 4. Let's say your password is 1 2 3 4 5 6. You won't store directly 1 2 3 4 5 6 in a database. You would store it in an encrypted way. So there are many ways to encrypt your password. We will look into it when we like really create a login or sign up route, because it's foolish to store the password directly into the database in string format. Okay, so we got password, and what do we have? Lots of field. Availability. It should be like, okay, I got it. It should be like this. Hmm. Some sort of issue while copying. Not so sure what's the issue, but we can change. Solve it just by adding the colons again. Then we have availability, service IDs. Service IDs. I'm not so sure how can we add service IDs because currently we don't have the service IDs. So let's leave blank that for now. Leave blank. Leave it blank for now. Then we have is owner. Okay. Boolean. I will be the owner of my barber shop. Then the Insta ID. Sure, I can give you my Insta ID. Let's go to Instagram. Please follow, guys. You know my Insta ID now. So now we have created our barber. We can validate it or we can directly save it. Let's just directly save it. Save document in Node.js. Mhm. Hmm. So yeah, we can do like we can create this as an async function, and then we can use await first barber dot save. Hopefully that saves the thing. Then we can use find to get all the barbers, like find all. That would be, let's say, find all in Mongoose. Const all barbers. Barber. And in the response, we want all the barbers. So when I hit this route or get, it should create a barber, hopefully, and then get us all the barbers. So currently we are only just creating one. So let's see what's the problem. The common way to debug a function is to always add a console.log at start to know that this thing is starting. And console.log barber created. Hmm. Now I'm not even able to connect to my database. Oh, it's connected. Do I have a collection of a user over here? Oh, oh, we do have a collection, and we did create a user called Malhanai. Oh, my screen is not visible. Not so sure why after some time my screen goes offline. Maybe it's because my Wi-Fi is kind of laggy. Okay, so yeah, our barber was created, and you can see the availability has day Monday, start time and time. Hmm. And it also has an object ID which is similar to this. So yeah, this is created successfully. Let's just remove this for now. Comment this. Don't want to create a barber again. Thanks, Miyashis, to inform me that my screen is not visible. Okay, let's see why we are not able to get our data using. Oh, now we do see the data. See also at the start. So it was creating a user first time, so maybe that was taking some time, and we like switched like gave up too quickly to close the request. So this teaches us the patience which we need to have in coding. So as you can see, the like when I hit my backend route, uh, it's not so great to like get a response like this. It's not so user friendly. So usually to test APIs, we use Postman. So Postman is a software which helps you test your APIs locally, and you can give the requested body. Like we will see what's requested body and all in a bit. So let's open postman.com. You can create your own account in postman.com. Like you can download a desktop application for Postman as well, but you can also use Postman directly on web. You just need to download a Postman agent, which I have downloaded. Let's see. Sign in on Google. This shows my Wi-Fi, my mobile data, none is working good. Nothing is working good. Hmm. Finally, it's loaded. Why is it taking so long? So if you're not so familiar with post, like watch a video, or if you go along this course, you would learn more about Postman. Come on. Okay, finally. Okay, so earlier we were using a get request. I would like teach you get different types of requests, which is get, post, put, patch, delete, and all in a bit. See, like over here, my screen is not visible now again, I guess. Mhm. Silly YouTube. So yeah, you can see my response. Oops, sorry, no, don't say. Yeah, I can see the response in JSON. If I predict, then we can see our response like in a more formatted way. And while using Postman, it's better. You can even send the post request. Like let's say currently I am directly creating user inside. I created user directly inside this function. So let's say you want to create a user when like you want to take the input from the user and then create the user. So at that time you would need the data from front end, and to test that, like we can test our API route, we can directly pass the data inside the post request and make it like this. Like I would teach you in a bit when we get there. So yeah, our barbers collection has been created successfully. If you want, we can create one more barber, but let's just create all the collections for today and then we can sign off for today. Mhm. Let's go to models, create a new file called booking.js. It should be similar to this one, const booking schema. Hmm. We do have first name, last name. We also have email inside booking. Nice. Let's just make required false for everything. So while let's say if you want to store date inside the database, there is a separate schema called date, which should be required because you always need date. Upon when date is done, then there would be barber ID. Wait a minute. What we did is kind of not it's a mistake, but we didn't follow a convention. So usually while you're writing code or like defining the name of the document, like let's say for this column, first name, last name, we used camel case, like last underscore name, and not camel case, sorry, underscore. We used underscore with this. So last underscore name, first underscore name, and for this we used camel case. Like we used both the convention. It's always recommended you use just one. So I would say use the camel case for everything. You can even use underscore if you want. And we will also see how can we change that. I am not so sure how to change it, but I'm sure we can change it even if it's created. We'll see that in a bit. So barber ID. So a barber ID would be a foreign key, right? So it would always reference. Sorry. So it would always uh, reference to a barber which is already created inside the barber's collection, right? So to do that, we need to like go to, let's see over here, schemas, defining schema types. So these are the schema types. So our would be like an object ID, like it would be a foreign key, so it would always reference to someone. So let's go to this. I'm not sure if it's object ID. No, did I click? Hmm. Yeah, object IDs. So for this case, they have a schema for car and driver. So a car should always have a driver. So they are using driver as the foreign key. So, but what if I need to mm, see foreign key in Mongo schema? Hmm. Is it like this? I think you can directly do it like over here. We have used schema.types.object_id in reference. So like this. Hmm. But it would be referencing to barber, the barber's collection. One thing which I didn't show you is like this is a collection, like this is the document, like the barber's collection, like we saved it as barber, right? B capital, and we didn't add an S, but by default, MongoDB always adds an S at the end for whichever the collections you make. So over here, you don't need to add S. Like if you would have added S, then it would make barber, so double S at the end. Hmm. So, yeah, this is good. Barber ID. Then what do we have in booking? Payment status should be type string. String required would be false. Then booked by barber. Yeah, booked by barber. Type would be boolean. required by default, it would be false, I would say. Like if a barber books it, then only he checks it. Service ID. Yeah. Service which, let's say if someone books multiple service. So service ID should always be, I think, an array similar to this one. Like service ID is provided by the barber. So it should be similar to this one. Okay, cool. Now go to module.export so that we can use this inside our project. And then there'll be mongoose model. The name would be booking to link to booking scheme. And then in our route, first email is tony.jan@gmail.com. In my my screen is not visible, I guess. Let me just stop sharing my screen and share it again. Oopsies. First, let's just also import booking. Should be required. Oh, again, my screen is not visible. If you're watching, is my screen visible to you guys? If someone would help me in the chat. It's not visible, I guess. So I think yeah, now it's visible. So we're just creating a first booking so that you can see our bookings collection over here as well. So Tony Stark is our customer. We don't need his password or something. And availability also we don't need. Is he an owner? No, that's also what we need. So we got the email. Appointment date should be a type of date. Schema types, and inside that date. This is the date type which we can provide, like, and can we provide like December 2022 or something? Wi-Fi. Hmm. Okay. So we got appointment date, fully that works. Then we have barber ID. Currently, I would just directly copy the barber ID. So the barber ID for this one. Uh, hmm. Then we have payment status. Payment status is actually not required, so let's leave that. Leave booked by barber as default, which is false. So yeah, this should create the user. Let's hit the route and the postman. Hopefully it works. Why are we putting barber? It should be booking. And hmm. Oh, sorry. Hmm. It says barber created. Where's the refresh button? Where is there a refresh button? No. See, we have bookings collection. Oopsies. Yeah, we did make a mistake for barber because barber ID should be in an array. Huh. Why should barber ID be an array? It should directly be a string because he's not booking multiple barbers. We should not have an option to book. My voice is breaking. Oh, thanks, Nashis, to let me know. Actually, I'm facing some issue with my Wi-Fi and also my mobile data. But this is the last part which I am doing. So after this, I would end my stream and continue tomorrow. Uh, so I hope my voice is not breaking. I will try to speak a little slowly. Maybe the way I speak, it's kind of not so audible. Like kind that I hope my accent is not that bad that you think that my voice is breaking. Mm, service ID says that it should be an array. Oh yeah, service ID should be an array, which is an empty currently. Yeah, see the barber ID which we gave was proper. Like the barber ID is referencing us directly to the this barber Malhar Naik. So I will cut the hair of Tony Stark. I did cut it on 9th December last year. Yeah. So your service ID is currently an empty array. So let's also quickly make a model for service. Let's create a service and hopefully then we can like delete these records from barbers and booking and add that as an array inside that service.js. So just directly copy this const service schema is equal to create was collection for service. Oops, my screen is okay. Okay, I am sharing my screen again. So we are creating a service array, the service collection. So the type should be string, required should be true, then price should always be in cents. We will always save the price in cents, not in dollars, because in dollars it would always be a decimal. So I would say always in number. So for number, the schema type is number. Is there a schema type for float, I guess, like decimal in MongoDB? I'm not so sure. But I think if you save it as number, you can add 83.5 or something. Yeah, you can save it in decimal as well. Can we save in decimal? Let, let's say schema type for decimal in Mongoose. I think it should be number only because it's not an integer or something. I'm sure it's number, but let's just where it is true. That for storing float, you must use number type. Yeah, see, you can store float value in speed field. What's that? I don't know. Limit to enforce integer values. Huh, I don't know what's this link, but yeah, just save it in number. Then we have time. Yeah, so time also we would make it as number. It would be like default time the service would take. We would be like store number of minutes. Like let's say it takes 1 hour 30 minutes and the total minutes would be 90. So we would store 90 in that. Required is true. And then we do module dot export equal to mongoose model name should be service and it should link to service schema. We created a service schema. First service. should have a name, haircut. Then it should have a price. So you will store it in cents and it's numbers. So let's say a simple haircut is $15. So it would be 1500 cents. Then we have time. A simple haircut takes 30 minutes. So create a service and service the client. It should be all. Hmm. Yeah, our service has been created successfully. Let's refresh. Yeah, we do have a service area now. A service collection now. Haircut. Price is $15. Time it takes is 30 minutes. You also get the logs which we inserted over here. Console.log start. As soon as the function is called and then service created. So let's try to create another booking with the service IDs array. Let's do control Z, control Z, control Z. So we would have all of this as okay. So this one is where we created the service. Then we have Virat Kohli, the second customer. VK. Then he visited 2401. Let's say going to visit us tomorrow. Power by ID is the same. Paste its service IDs. These would be the ID this one. This should work. In here. Oh yeah, see? This is our first details, first booking details about Tony Stark. And oh, wait a minute. Hmm. So the name with which we added is like we used, I don't know why we use underscore here, but it should be first name, then last name. Again, I made the same mistake. It should be appointment date, like a camel case, customer ID, service IDs, payment status, service IDs. Yeah, now it should be good. So it would create a says appointment date is required. Oh, I didn't save this one. Sorry. Now maybe it's, yeah. See? So this thing is what I like about NoSQL database. Like as soon as I just change the schema over here and added a new value, boom, it doesn't care about the earlier values. It just takes the new values and like saves accordingly. Like see, this is Barber IDs. Last three is 53 D3. If you go to Barber ID, see that's my ID which I have linked. And if you go to services, the last four digits are 0978 and see the service ID 0978 for this one. So like we can delete this too because it follows the principle like the older one. I would also change it for barber as well because I want to make sure that we are using camel case for the schema. Should be first name, last name, password, ability, service ID. That should be good. So yeah, that's it for today. Uh, Today we learned about MongoDB collections. We made collections using Mongoose in our node project, and we also created a demo route, which is this one, which just creates a document in each of the collections. And we also learned how MongoDB works, and as you can see, like the way we like created this like booking. If you go at first, it was like appointment underscore date, and afterwards, I changed the schema and saved it using appointment then date. So I just changed schema directly over here and saved it and made a new user, and we were able to do that. But if we are using a relational database, that thing would not be possible. You need to like delete the whole row, then create a whole new row and like write migration file for it. So it's kind of like NoSQL is dynamic, it adopts directly, but in relational database it follows set of rules which needs to be followed. And yeah, that's it for today. We learned about how to create MongoDB schema in Node.js using Mongoose. And tomorrow we'll start our main backend. But before you go, I want to like introduce you to GitHub. So usually it's good practice that let's say I created this much code. This is very less code I know, but let's say I created this much code and all of a sudden my laptop stops working. And so all my code would be lost. So there should be somewhere I can store my code, right? So that's where GitHub comes into play, comes into action. GitHub is a version control. So one use which I just mentioned is to like store our code on cloud, which is like on GitHub. And the other main use is to like when you are working on a project, there will be multiple developers working on the same project. So to maintain the code, maintain the like let's say I am working on something and I am transferring my code to GitHub, then other barber should be able to pull that code and work on the latest code. Like so, it should everyone should go hand in hand. So that's where GitHub comes into action. So to create a GitHub repository, let's say new repository name is barber website. The repository would be public. Creating repository. So these are the steps which you should follow to make sure you are able to push all this code. So let's do git init first. So yeah, this initialized our repo. Then it should be like you can always do git status, which is untracked file, which is untracked. And as I mentioned earlier, it's not a good practice to push the node modules. So I would add a git ignore file. So I think the like it should be dot git ignore. Yeah, sorry, dot git ignore. Inside this, we would add node modules. Yeah, see, so no more node module should not be pushed to GitHub. So it is git commit first commit. Hmm. Author identity unknown. So git config dash dash global user dot email. So my email is malhan432@gmail.com. Hmm. Then it's user dot name. Oops, it should be git commit dash m, which is message. So yeah, this would push the thing. Then we can create a git branch dash m dash main, git remote add, git push origin main. See, our code is, if you follow that steps, usually when you're starting with Git, you would run into some kind of errors always because, like, I have faced many kinds of error. Like, the steps which I did was git add. First, I created a repository, then I initialized this whole code as git init to start make this a git repository. Then I did git add. Then when I did git commit, I was unable to do that because the user from this terminal was not set. So I had to set the user first. So I set the user for this, which is my email and then my name. So the name which I set would always come over here. Uh, then I like added the repository's URL, which is git add, the command which they gave. and then I finally did git push origin main. So yeah, that was it. So now our code is on GitHub, and whatever changes we do tomorrow, we will again push our changes. Usually, like every day, we will whatever we do, we'll push our changes to GitHub so that our code is never lost. Okay, thank you so much, guys. I hope you learned something today as well, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you. Good night.